But find a comfortable seat. Notice kind of what lift you might need. I'm sitting up on a block. You might be on a bolster or a pillow or a blanket. So just kind of feel into how I could feel best supported in my spine this morning. In particular, looking for that place where we might be able to root the sit bones down and then start to grow the spine upward from there. And then once you've found that seat, you might take a couple of rolls out through your shoulders, let your head move a little bit from side to side, feeling those kind of settling, but also maybe waking up movements for this morning meditation practice. And then if it feels comfortable, you can let your eyes close. Start to become aware of your internal environment. And if closing the eyes makes your internal environment a little bit too active, then consider having your eyes open and just taking your gaze down toward your lap or toward the floor. As we take this scan through this morning and just kind of notice what's there. Beginning with just practicing presence, practicing being present with what's there. Sometimes, for me, one of the most challenging things is being still because all of the stuff that I haven't been dealing with starts to become very apparent very quickly. So whether that's physical body, discomfort that starts to, oh, I didn't realize that was sore, I didn't realize that was tight, or thoughts that I'm kind of put on the back burner, those to-do lists that kind of start to pop up of like, oh yeah, I need to do this, I need to do that. But then also emotionally, sometimes as I start to get still, I start to notice, oh, this is how I'm feeling today. Whereas if I kind of keep up at the pace of go, 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 that doesn't always get acknowledged. So taking a moment just to be present with what's there. And as much as possible, trying to hold it without labeling it good or bad. That can be the tendency of the mind to just kind of start to label things of like, oh, I'm feeling frustrated this morning, that's bad. I'm feeling happy this morning, that's good. And instead, just kind of welcoming all of it in as the whole package of you this morning. And as we start to get curious about this package of us, let's also get curious about our breath this morning. So noticing the breath can be so different from day to day, from hour to hour, from morning to evening. And it might depend on how our morning has gone so far and where our breath is. If we've already been up for a while, our breathing might be a little bit faster. We've had a cup of coffee, our breathing might be a little bit faster. We just rolled out of bed, our breathing might be a little bit slower. And so just being curious again about not labeling good or bad, but just noticing what is the quality of my breath today before I try to change it or shift it. What we'll do this morning is, excuse me, what we'll do this morning is we'll link a mudra to our breath practice. So we'll be practicing Nadi Shodhana, which is an alternate nostril breathing, and it's normally done with using the fingers to open and close the nostrils. But today we'll be doing a mudra with our hands, so that will prevent us from actually using our hands to do the breath practice. But we can still do the breath practice with our mind and focus the movement of breath, because breath not only is kind of oxygen moving through the body, but it's also prana. And prana can be directed with our intention. So we can move the breath the same way that we would move it with Nadi Shodhana while maintaining that mudra. So the mudra is Hakini mudra. If you need to open your eyes for a moment, if they're closed, you're welcome to. You'll take your fingertips, thumb tips too, and press them together, kind of like you're holding a little ball between your hands. And you can either hold this up if it feels okay for your shoulders, or you can let it drop down into your lap if that will kind of bring a little bit more ease to your shoulders so that we can find the fullness of our breath. And this mudra in particular is used to help balance the hemispheres of the brain. And then Nadi Shodhana is a balancing breath that we also use to balance the hemispheres of the brain and balance the Ida and the Pingala, which are two of the main nadis that run up the spine, and help to just kind of overall bring balance to our subtle body, to our energy system. So lots of balance this morning is our goal. So start first just by feeling the tips of the fingers as they meet. You might notice sensation of tingling or temperature. This is something that activates the subtle body. So noticing some of those smaller kind of sensations. And then turning our awareness to our breath as it's traveling in and out of our nostrils. And see if we can start to find the individual pathways of breath in the left nostril and the right nostril. And we might have one nostril that's a little bit more blocked just because of allergies or something cold, or sometimes just, over the course of the day, one nostril will open up more and the other nostril will close more. So we might be noticing, oh, I can breathe really well through my left nostril, but my right nostril, not so much. So if we find that one's completely blocked, again, it's using intention. So then just imagining that pathway, that flow of breath through that nostril. As we find these individual pathways of breath, we'll take a couple more breaths like this. And as we do, we'll see if we can imagine as we inhale our breath going in through our nostrils and traveling up into the space kind of between the eyebrows, and then kind of dropping back just a little bit into the center of the brain. So our breath is moving up and into the center of our brain. And then as we exhale, our breath moves out from that point, out from the center of the brain toward kind of brow center down through the two nostrils. So you're just kind of finding those two pathways of breath. But now the next time that you inhale, let your inhalation move in through just your left nostril, or at least through your imagining, just through your left nostril. Let your focus be there, taking it up and into that point in the center of the brain. And then as you exhale, you'll exhale from the center of the brain out through the right nostril, so switching sides. And then we'll stay in the same side. You'll inhale through the right nostril up into the center of the brain. And then exhale from the center of the brain out through the left nostril. Again, switching sides. That's one round. We'll inhale through the left nostril, up and into the center of the brain. Exhale out through the right, from the center of the brain down through the right nostril. Same side, inhale right, up into the center of the brain. Exhale left from the center of the brain out through the left nostril. That's two rounds. Inhale left. Exhale right. Inhale right. And exhale left. That's three rounds. Inhale left. Exhale right. Inhale right. And exhale left. You'll continue with four more rounds on your own, moving at the pace of your breath. Your breath might be moving a little bit faster or slower than my breath today. Each time we end a round, it ends with an exhalation on the left side. If it would feel interesting to add a slight pause at the top of the breath as you have arrived in the center of the brain, you're welcome to add that pause. As you release the practice, you might still be in the middle of a round, so keep going if you are. But when you finish that last round, exhaling through the left, take some deep breaths, noticing your inhale, noticing your exhale. Let your fingertips separate away from one another. You might turn your palms up toward the ceiling, inviting your shoulders to soften down your back. Again, notice what you feel, what you're experiencing. Maybe you can still feel a little bit of sensation in your fingertips and your palms. And when you feel ready, if your eyes are closed, let your eyes open, perhaps just a quarter, a third of the way, letting your gaze drop downward so that kind of information that's coming back into the mind is coming back relatively slowly. And then from here, you'll let your gaze slowly lift as you feel ready. Well, from here, we'll move around to our hands and our knees. We're going to do just a little bit of movement before we sit for a little bit longer. So coming around to your hands and your knees, and you might be practicing somewhere where you need to add a little bit of padding for your knees. Feel free to do that. You might be sitting on a bed. You can, do the same thing in bed, but we'll come to a tabletop shape, bringing our knees wider than our hips. If we're on a yoga mat, we'll have our knees about the width of our mat. And as we take our next inhale, we'll start to tip our heart forward, moving into a little cow, especially first thing in the morning. Things move slowly. As you exhale, arch your back, trying to find that little cat spine. On your inhale, tipping forward, moving toward cow. And as you exhale, arch your back into cat, but this time keep the cat arch as you start to sit your hips back toward your heels. On your inhalation, you'll bring yourself forward and up. And then on your exhalation, round your back through cat, bring your hips toward your heels. Do that a couple more times, flowing through that cat-cow. And this time, as we land back in our child's pose, we'll pause here. We might slide our arms out just a little bit further. The head may or may not touch the floor as we bring our head down. From here, we'll start to walk our hands over to the right. As the hands walk to the right, if you're on a mat, the hands might come off the mat. You can walk out through your left fingertips just a little bit more. Taking a couple deep, full breaths into the left side of your body. And then with our inhalation, we'll walk through center. As we exhale, bringing the hands over to the left. And again, we might walk out through our right fingertips just a little bit more. With our next inhale, bring ourselves back to center. As we come back to center, we'll push into our palms, bring ourselves back up to hands and knees, and then we'll transition our way around to a seat. So if you need to grab a little lift to sit back up on, we'll come around to our seat. And as we come around to our seat, we'll bend both of our knees, setting our feet onto the floor so that the feet are about the width apart as our hips. And then I'll be a mirror. You'll rock both of your knees over to the right. And it could be that your left knee stacks on top of your inner right ankle, or you can bring your left leg back a little bit further so that the sole of your right foot sits inside your left thigh. So starting to notice a little bit of the hip maybe this morning. We'll bring our right hand outside of our right hip, about 6 inches or so, and then you'll reach your left arm across your body and start to feel the rotation that's happening in your upper spine as you do that. Reach out through your fingertips. See if you can reach a little bit further, get a little bit more space underneath your left shoulder blade. Take an inhale. And as you exhale, start to bend your elbow, roll your chest open, let your gaze follow your hand as you push your elbow as far back as you can. And then you'll reach your arm across your body, reach, 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 and extend. Inhale. And exhale, bend your elbow, roll open, push back. Let's do that 2 more times, moving with your breath. You may notice that as you start to find this rotation through your thoracic spine this morning, your breath starts to get a little fuller. Last one. And then we'll reach our left hand across, bring it onto our right knee. Here we can walk our right hand in a little bit, bringing ourselves up a little bit taller. And then depending on how the spine wants to rotate this morning, we can walk our right hand back just a little bit further if we'd like. So we walk the right hand back, roll the right shoulder away, again, encouraging that rotation through our thoracic spine. We'll let our neck unwind, so we're looking out over our left shoulder. So we look over our left shoulder, we'll tip our left ear down, our right ear up. And here we can take a little nod of our head, yawn, open and close our mouth. Be curious about, what's there this morning, especially with this morning practice. Yawning might feel really nice. And we'll take one more inhale as we exhale. We'll roll our chin toward our chest. And then we'll let ourselves slowly unwind. As we come to center, we'll pick our feet up, setting our feet again about as wide as our hips, maybe a little wider. And then just take a little windshield wiper of your knees from side to side before you switch sides. And then we'll let both of our knees dip over to the left. Again, you could stack your knee on top of your inner ankle or bring the right foot further back so the left foot comes to the inside of the thigh. We'll bring our left hand kind of out to our side, about 6 inches or so. And as the left hand comes out to the side, we'll reach our right arm across our body and start to notice that rotation that begins to happen in the thoracic spine, underneath the shoulder blades. See if you can reach a little bit further, take an inhale. Exhale, bend the elbow, roll the chest open, push back. Reach the arm across, reach, 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 extend, inhale. And exhale, bend the elbow, roll open, gaze follows the hand. 2 more times, moving with your breath. Last one. And then we'll reach our hand across our body, bringing our hand onto our knee. Walk the left hand in, bring yourself up a little bit taller. And then we'll start to walk the hand back behind us a little bit more. As we take that rotation through our left shoulder blade, inviting the upper spine to rotate back behind us, we'll let our chin unwind, looking to the right. The chin looks to the right, we'll dip the right ear down, left ear up, and take that little nod of your head, yawn, open and close your mouth. Noticing what's here on this side. And we'll take one more inhale as we exhale. We'll roll our chin toward our chest. Then we'll let our spine unwind. As our spine unwinds, bringing the legs up one more time. Set your feet a little wider than your hips. Windshield wiper of the knees from side to side. Okay, so now the body might feel ready for another sit now that we moved a little bit. So coming to what feels like a good seat for meditation for you. That could be cross-legged. You could come to kneeling. If you're feeling particularly low energy, you're welcome to do it reclining. The nice thing about practicing at home is we can also do it seated in a chair if we want to. So there's really no right or wrong in terms of the seat. Again, just looking for that space where we can find a nice tall spine. As you find your seat, again, noticing as you start to settle in, is there any movement that wants to happen? Is the eyes drift closed or drift down toward the lap? Taking that movement as long as you need to. And then when you feel ready, coming into stillness. Let your attention move from your physical body to an awareness of your breath as we begin. Noticing the breath can be a great guide as we move deeper in the practice. If the mind starts to wander off down to-do lists or other thoughts, the breath can be this tether that can bring you back into the practice. So if you lose track of where you are, start by coming back and just watching your inhale and your exhale for a couple of rounds. And that can be a way to kind of bring you back into the presence of your practice. So our practice today, instead of focusing on any one particular thing, we'll be coming back to that idea of holding things with equanimity. One of the more challenging aspects of the meditative practice for me when I first began meditating was thinking. I felt like since I was meditating, my mind was supposed to be quiet, and I would get very frustrated that my mind was not cooperating. And after some time with the practice, and also some very wise teachers who pointed out that part of the practice is the thinking, I became a little bit, I came to a place of a little bit more ease with my meditative practice. And so it's not that meditation is about thinking, but it's about recognizing that as human beings, we do think. We do have a brain that works and that is active. And particularly when we get still and get quiet, if we've been staying really busy and moving really fast in our lives, there's a lot more there that arises when we get quiet. And so the practice becomes, instead of pushing the thoughts away and making ourselves wrong and making ourselves a bad meditator for thinking, it's recognizing that the thoughts coming up is part of the practice. And so you might think about the first couple of minutes of practice as like these thought bubbles kind of pop up of like, oh, there's that, and there's that, and there's that. And just kind of, for me, it's almost like this like purge, this memory purge of kind of getting everything out of my brain so that I can get to a quieter place. So as we start to watch thoughts arise, it's allowing them to come up. It's not going down the pathway of that thought and thinking like, oh, there's that to-do list and I need to start checking things, or, oh, that thing happened to me and I'm still really pissed about it. But it's seeing that thought, acknowledging that thought, oh, there's a thought, and then just kind of letting it move along its way. So trying not to get hooked into the thoughts. It's that idea that we talk about sometimes of non-attachment. And so sometimes for us, having some kind of imagery to work with that can be helpful. So you might see your thoughts like clouds moving across the sky. And so they're there in the mindscape, but they're moving through big fluffy thought clouds, just one after another. And it's like, oh, there's another thought, there it goes. Oh, there's another thought, there it goes. Or sometimes kind of falling snowflakes. Oh, there's a thought, snowflake, there it goes. But taking the time just to notice the thoughts, again, not getting hooked into them, but being compassionate with yourself about the thinking. Seeing the thoughts as they arise, and then also seeing them just continue to move through the mind. And we might notice that after a minute or so, the thoughts might still be there, but there's less of them. Or they're moving a little bit slower. They don't have quite as much to hook our attention into them. And then we may find after a little bit of time that we have a pause in our thoughts. And we sit inside that pause. And then if another thought arises, we try not to get frustrated or angry. We just go, oh, there's another thought, there's another cloud, there's another snowflake. We let it go through. We'll continue this practice for the next about 3 minutes or so in silence. Again, noticing that when my voice goes away, when there's a little bit more quiet, that the brain might get a little bit busier. So being okay with that, being compassionate toward yourself, just continuing to watch the thoughts as they move through. And then in the quiet places between thoughts, resting inside that quiet. Allow yourself to take a couple of deep breaths, feeling the fullness of your inhale and your exhale. Noticing that rhythm of breath. Letting that also bring you back into an awareness of your physical body. And if you'd like, bringing your hands to your heart. So your hands arrive here. You might take a moment here at the start of your day to set an intention to take with you from this maybe slightly quieter mind space into the rest of your day. We offer up the fruits of our practice to the benefit of all beings everywhere, that they may be happy and free from suffering. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Finally, bowing to our own hearts, we acknowledge the light that resides inside each one of us. Namaste.